Imagine coming home, the storm outside your window raging, only to hear footsteps inside your house. A lamp crashes. A closet window you haven't touched in months stands wide open, rain spilling in, and then heavy footsteps race toward you from upstairs. Or, picture this, a lone gas station at night, rain pounding the glass. A drenched man appears, his stare empty, his knuckles bloodied. You let him in to escape the storm, but his whispered command, "Don't," freezes you in place. And then there's the flooded road, past midnight, where a car appears from nowhere. Men surround your vehicle, silent and menacing. You race to escape, water surging beneath your tires as shadows close in. 3 storms, 3 strangers, one question: who or what is lurking in the dark? Are you brave enough to find out? They're closer than you think. I arrived home from work about an hour earlier and was settling in for the evening. The storm outside was unusual for our area, and I always felt on edge during these rare thunderstorms. As I sat on my bed watching TV, I heard a noise downstairs. Initially, I dismissed it as the house creaking, but an uneasy feeling urged me to investigate. After a quick check and finding nothing, I filled my water bottle and returned to my room. Barely a few minutes passed before I heard another sound. This time, it was unmistakable, the distinct crash of my living room lamp hitting the floor. The lamp had a notorious tendency to topple when bumped due to its unstable base, but it had never fallen on its own. I hurried downstairs to find it lying on the floor, which felt odd given the relatively mild storm. After setting it upright and scanning the room, I convinced myself it was nothing and went back upstairs. About 45 minutes later, the rain seemed louder, almost unnaturally so, as though it were seeping into the walls. Opening my bedroom door, I realized the sound was coming from downstairs. Following the noise, I ended up at the storage closet near the kitchen. When I opened the door, I found the window inside wide open, rain pouring in and puddling onto the boxes below. I hadn't touched that window in months, and the sight of it open filled me with dread. Shutting it quickly, I froze, overwhelmed by fear. My phone was upstairs, but I wasn't sure if I could safely retrieve it. I decided to grab my car keys and head toward the front door. I moved carefully, praying that if someone was in the house, they wouldn't hear me. I was halfway to the door when I heard heavy footsteps sprinting down the upstairs hallway toward the stairs. Heart pounding, I bolted out the front door, into the rain, and into my car. I backed out of the driveway without looking back and called 911. The police arrived to find an empty house, but further investigation revealed the likely scenario. Someone had broken in through the storage closet window, and the vibrations from their effort had caused the lamp to fall. They had probably hidden upstairs, waiting for me to fall asleep. The thought that someone had been lurking outside my bedroom door that night still sends chills down my spine. I was covering a late-night shift at the gas station, working from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. The storm outside was relentless, with heavy rain and fierce winds. After sitting behind the counter for an hour, I went outside to secure loose items around the pumps. While working, I noticed a man pacing on the sidewalk, drenched and aimless. He didn't approach, so I figured he was waiting for a ride. 2 hours later, as the storm intensified, I retreated to the storage room, away from the shaking windows. That's when I heard loud banging on the front doors. Through the rain-soaked glass, I saw the same man from earlier. Thinking he needed help, I let him in. Without a word of explanation, he paced back and forth, water pooling beneath him. Something about him felt off. His blank stare unnerved me, and I decided to call the police. The moment I reached for the phone, his eyes locked onto mine. "Don't," he said coldly, stopping me in my tracks. His bloody, bruised knuckles sent a chill through me. We stood in tense silence for what felt like an eternity before he turned and walked out into the storm. When the police finally arrived, the man was long gone. The next day, I learned of a missing woman last seen leaving work at 11 p.m., matching the timeline of the encounter. I can't shake the feeling that the man might have been connected, and the incident still haunts me. It was past midnight, and I was driving home after a late shift. The storm was relentless, flooding side streets, but I preferred them to the main roads. As I approached one section, I realized it was too flooded to cross. Frustrated, I put the car in reverse to turn around. When my sensors started beeping, I looked back and saw a car inches from my bumper. It had no headlights and seemed to appear out of nowhere. Confused, I waited for it to move, but it just sat there. Then the driver's door opened, and a man in dark clothing approached my window, knocking, but saying nothing. Feeling uneasy, I tried to inch forward, but he followed me. Suddenly, another knock came from the passenger side. A second man stood there, and behind him, I noticed a third figure approaching. My heart raced as I threw the car into drive, splashing into the flood. For a terrifying moment, my tires lost traction, but I managed to regain control and turn around. Speeding away, I called the police. Later, they found the car abandoned near the flood. It had been stolen months earlier, but the men were gone. To this day, I don't know their intentions, but I often wonder how close I came to disaster that night.